Hi everybody, so how are things? So as of about an hour and a half ago, I watched the last episode of season 3 Doctor Who with Mr. William Hartnell. So I kind of thought, please don't excuse me, I've literally just got out of the bath. I'd do a little video that's kind of got my top 5 favourite stories in from the Hartnell years, so from the 3 seasons. The reason why I kind of thought I'd do this is just kind of because I thought it would kind of be nice to see if anyone else has similar favourites, or if people have different favourites. So if you've got different favourites, please do pop them down below, saying why, and I'll kind of give you a little synopsis as to kind of why they are where they are on my little list. So there are 5 episodes in this list from the first 3 seasons that kind of stood out to me as some of my favourite episodes. So I'll get straight on into it, and hopefully you guys will be able to kind of jump in with your kind of thoughts and things as well. So in 5th place is for me the Aztecs. Now the reason why the Aztecs kind of made it onto my list is mainly because I think it was the episode where I completely fell in love with Babs as a character, and probably Jacqueline Hill as an actress as well. Her performance, you could see her classical training come through. I went to drama school myself, and I trained in theatre at university. That's what I did, and to see kind of that coming out, I just thought was beautiful. She really established herself in that story for me. We weren't that far into the season when we got to the Aztecs. I think it might have only been the 4th episode. I'm going to have to check this because my memory is horrendous, so I do apologise. But for me, that one story is what... Oh, it was the 6th episode, sorry. Is what cemented for me that Babs was someone who wasn't going to flail around screaming, rescuing, wanting to be rescued, screaming for help. If something needed to be done, she was going to do it herself. And for me, that was quite refreshing to see, especially because in 1963, from what I kind of recall from when I did parts of film and TV at university, there wasn't a lot of characters like that then. It kind of wasn't the norm in those days. So for me, that's probably why the Aztecs is on this list. I thought the production values were great as well. The sets were fantastic. The acting was great as well. Everyone in it, I don't think they'd cast a bad actor in that episode, and it really, really showed. It really, really worked. For me as a watcher, it was something that I'll probably watch again at some point. Once I've kind of got to the point where Sylvester McCoy's buggered off, I'll probably maybe go back and rewatch some of my favourites from kind of the seasons once I'm completely kind of done with the classic seasons. But for me, the establishment of Babs as character in the Aztecs is kind of why for me that story is made onto the list. My 4th choice is an episode from season 3, actually. It is the only episode from season 3, I believe, that's made onto my list. And that is the Daleks Master Plan. That story was one hell of an epic story. But at the same time, when I see 6-parters, sometimes I dread things because I'm a bit oh bugger, 4 and 5 or 3 and 4 are going to be really slow, or they're going to be fillers, and sometimes it can kind of prolong the story when it doesn't need it, in my opinion. There's been a couple of instances where that's happened. The Web Planet probably being the most obvious to me. They probably could have done that in 4 parts. There wasn't any need to kind of stretch that out into 6. They could have made another story 6, I guess. But yeah, the fact that there was 12 episodes and not one episode did I feel bored. There was always something happening. Again, the cast were great. We had the Brig, we had Sarah, we had Stephen, we had the Doctor, we had Magic Chen. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. And the effect of the Time Destructor on Sarah at the end was something that was really shocking to me. But not only that, for me, to have a companion come in for such a short space of time, only to be sucked out into space and still make me cry, I think says a lot about the writing for that story. I mean, we had Vicky for such a long time, and her exit never really affected me emotionally. I didn't really have an attachment to Vicky. I enjoyed her character. I thought she was great when she was with Babs and Ian and the Doctor. And then she kind of got a rapport building with Stephen, so it was a little bit of a shame to kind of see that come to an end quite prematurely. But as I said, I didn't really have an emotional attachment to her. So for that to kind of come through and happen with Katarina after knowing her for 4 episodes, so we had the episode in Troy where she kind of appeared in the last part of that episode, in the Mythmakers, and then to only have her for three full episodes, and then that little bit of part 4 of the Dalek Master Plan for her to just be gone, and yet to kind of still feel that shock and that sense of kind of grief, I suppose, actually surprised me quite a lot, and I really, really didn't expect it. So that's why that story kind of made it onto my list, because I thought every part of that story, every part of the 12 parts, there was something happening, there was something going on, the writing was fantastic. What really kind of stood out to me as well is to me the Daleks weren't overused, which can happen sometimes, and they kind of didn't really overexert the Daleks in this, and it wasn't too Dalek-y for me. I can switch off when that happens. If an episode's too monster central or kind of centralised, I will kind of start switching off. And it wasn't too heavy on the dialogue, which I really like as well. I understand obviously it's a script-based programme, but sometimes you can tone it bloody down. So yeah, I really enjoyed that episode as well, so that made it onto my list. My third favourite episode is a season 2 episode, and it is the Dalek invasion of Earth. This was the one episode that I think I really enjoyed. It was the first 6-parter that I think I really enjoyed. And the shock of Susan going at the end, I didn't expect that. The fact that she was just kind of locked out, I didn't expect. It was quite a heartbreaking way to say goodbye to her, to be honest. Not only for us, but I suppose for the other actors as well. It's just kind of, that's it, she's gone. When she's, the third person you ever meet in an unearthly child. So that surprised me quite a lot. The only part of that story I didn't really like was how quickly they kind of escalated her relationship with David. That kind of just seemed to happen in like the blink of an eye, but that was probably only the negative kind of part of that story for me. It wasn't something that kind of worked. I think one of you guys said they had to do rewrites or something because Caroline Ford wanted to kind of leave, so they had to kind of like quickly change the script. I don't know how true that is or not. I'm sure it was one of you guys that kind of told me that. You guys are usually quite good with little factoids and things, so I kind of rely on you guys for a lot of stuff in these early seasons. But that story was great. It was another great story as well. I liked the fact that there was people hiding in the underground. I liked the fact that we went to the mine and we got to see Ian in action. And it was just all round fun. considering it was Dalek based, and it was about the Daleks. I actually really enjoyed it. I adored the poster as well about the dead bodies. I thought that was a brilliant little kind of touch with the set. And do you know, most of these sets are great. Most of them are great. There's some that are kind of questionable, but some of these kind of ones you don't see very often. So that's probably why that's my favourite of the seasons that Hartnell did. It was just great story writing again, and I kind of have to credit Terry Nation for that, because he seems to really pull it out of the bag when it's kind of his turn to write an episode. And again, it wasn't overly Dalek centralised. I don't know if that's right grammar or right wording. I'm from the northeast, guys. We have our own language pretty much, so to me that's like normal speech. So yeah, that's probably why I've kind of added that to my list. And it was kind of the real first emotional hit that I had. I really never expected to react like that when Susan left, because Susan I kind of grew to love. She wasn't someone I connected with immediately. She kind of annoyed me quite a lot for the first season. There was times when I just find her quite difficult to watch, and I don't know if that was kind of a decision Caroline Ford had made, because obviously she was from another planet and she wanted to kind of portray that a little bit more and kind of get that across, that, you know, she's not human. And if so, that's great, because she really made me feel that way at times as well. So kudos to her if that was an intentional thing. But yeah, it was hard. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to feel that emotion at all. So that surprised me quite a lot. So my second favourite episode of the 3 seasons that Hartnell did would probably come as no surprise to people, was The Chase. Still raw to this day, actually, just thinking about it. I can't not think about it without getting a tiny little bit upset, which is probably ridiculous. But a lot of praise to the guys who wrote that, because to invoke that kind of emotion in someone so many years later is astounding, really. It was a fun story. I really enjoyed the little television screen that the Doctor invented, and you got to see aspects of the past and the future. I think this was the first story as well where I kind of really started to like Vicky. She kind of mellowed for me by this point. But I think that was because when she came into it, I didn't want Susan to be replaced. So it took a little bit longer for Vicky to kind of get to the point where I thought, oh, you know, Vicky's on the TARDIS, Vicky's going here, Vicky's going there. I really liked the fact that they were being chased through space as well. That was fun. That was like a great little thing to do. I loved the little house of horrors that they went to. That was brilliant as well. And seeing the Daleks kind of fight against like horror attractions, and the fact that they built their own time machine and it was bigger on the inside, and I just thought that was great as well. But again, I have to put it down at the writing of these stories. Like, some of these stories are just amazing. And the sets were great as well. And I just really, really enjoyed it. I love that they went to New York. And we met Peter Purvis, who we then met later on with the Mechanoids on Mechanos. And that was like a nice little thing to bring him back. I really want to know... you know, if he knew that he'd be coming back, that would be quite cool. If, like, they told him after he played the guy on the Empire State Building, you know, you got that, you know, you've done really well, we're going to kind of like ask you back. I wonder if he had to re-audition or... But he did a great little job, actually. I actually panicked at one point because I thought they were going to kill him, and I really didn't want him to die. I didn't actually even really know it was him. I don't think I even checked the credits. I just thought, oh, it's just some guy doing an American accent, but he really did a really good job. And then obviously we had, for me, the devastation of losing the Dream Team, who I don't think I'll ever probably replace in my heart. There'll be like literally nobody. I think that's got to take over from these guys now. As previously kind of spoken, like the companion that I grew up with was Sarah Jane Smith. That's who I grew up with. But for me, she was quite difficult to top. But I'd never seen these early episodes kind of in this way before, or in like ever really, other than, as I said before, like Unearthly Child. That's the only thing I can vaguely remember watching. So to kind of get to the point where there's these two characters that just seeped into me, was brilliant. So that's probably why it was so hard when they went for me. Yeah, it's still hard to this day to even... I only watched it like a month ago, I think, and I still can't think about it. But it's probably the one story I'll remember for a long time, which is why it made it onto this list. Number one is, this might surprise people, it might not, I don't know, but my favourite story of the Hartnell years for me is another season 2 episode, and it is the Romans. And the reason why this is number one on my list is mainly because I think it was the episode that I kind of really thought to myself, Babs and Ian were just the bee's knees. It's when they really established themselves with me as characters, on an emotional level. And I really, because I'd always kind of had this connection with Babs. I always thought, like, from the beginning, she was kind of something, a character rather that I was drawn to immediately as soon as like the season started. Ian, I took longer to warm to, a lot longer. But this story for me cemented everything that was good about Babs and Ian, and their relationship as well. Because from what I kind of recall from An Unearthly Child, they had like a colleague relationship at the start of that, a concerned colleague relationship regarding Susan. But by the time we got to the Romans, for me, it wasn't just colleagues, they were friends, they were best friends. And that's probably why that story for me is number one. It established them as being the best of friends, and they had this little adventure together. And it was just delightful to see, really. The sets were beautiful. The acting was brilliant as well. We had comedy moments, we kind of had tense moments where Ian had to kind of take on the role of a gladiator. Babs was getting chased by Nero, was kind of giving her bracelets and then kind of trying to seduce her, and I mean, who could blame the man, to be honest with you? Stunning lady. But for me, it was just an episode that it had heart, and I think that's why for me it's probably my favourite episode from the first 3 seasons. So that's my top 5 list for the Hartnell years of favourite episodes. So I'd like to know like what you guys' favourite episodes are from Hartnell. Like if they differ to mine, which if obviously they will, because everyone has like different favourites and things like that. But it would be great to know like what everyone kind of thinks about it, and see where like it might go from here on forwards. I'll probably do one of these for the Troughton years. I'll probably do one for each Doctor, to be honest. I'll do like a little series of review episode once each Doctor's kind of finished their run. Tom Baker might take me a bloody long time though, to be honest, to kind of think of favourites, and not just be biased towards the Sarah Jane stories, because they're the only ones I really know, to be honest. So thank you for watching my inane ramblings that probably no one will want to know about, but I thought I'd share with you anyway. I should probably go to bed because it's nearly 11 p.m. So I shall see you for the next review episode. Thanks, guys.